How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, where apparently I had some pretty solid notes last episode. I obviously, I'm very grateful that you're doing a great job of all not spoiling anything for me, because that's a very, obviously, that'd be a cruel thing to do, especially at this point. Oh, that'd be so mean. But I'm grateful most of you are sane people, you know, and keeping those spoilers. But apparently a lot of you really enjoyed my theory crafting. Apparently I might have hit some solid notes, so that's exciting, because Amane was really just like, it was just kind of resonating all of a sudden, where I was like, there's so much more going on here, and it's like it keeps dropping these little moments that just seem out of place, and that's what really finally kind of caught my attention. And so it's really fun to hear that my theory crafting is going well, that you guys excited to see how it plays out, what I think of the actual results, and we'll have to see what happens in the end. So other than that, let's jump into whatever's going to happen today. Again, I have no idea where things are going to go. It's not like the progression of events really follows a structure yet, so there's not really much to say about the recap other than the fact that thank you for your wonderful comments last week, and I hope you find some more spicy things to come with this week. Again, though, theory crafting often isn't something that can be predicted or is consistent. It usually just comes as I think about it. So while last episode was pretty much me just rambling like a madman, this episode might be a lot more tame, just because I have no idea what's going to happen. So anyway, sit back, relax, let's enjoy together, and see what kind of shenanigans we get down to in this school today. Just like at any other school, the start of the recess period here means that someone runs off to buy drinks for the group. There was a similar system at my previous school, so the event itself is familiar. The fact that our designated gopher put on a maid uniform for the task, on the other hand, is still going to take some getting used to.
それではお飲み物のご注文を受けたまわります。
It's kind of funny they called her the gopher.
なんかいつも悪いわね。じゃあ私は冷たい緑茶で。
I feel bad, but not enough for me to actually say don't do it.
いえ、自分の分を買いに行くついでですから。あまねさんは冷たい緑茶ですね。じゃあ私はミルクティーね。はい、みちる様はミルクティーで。私はレモンティーを。はい、いつもの無糖のものでかしこまりました。
Okay.
風見さんは何になさいますか？
What's available?
はい、大抵のものは何でも取り揃えてございます。
In that case, I'll have a university. She's like, I don't know what that is. Thought I'd keep a tea combo going.
いや、ねえからそんなお茶。
Oh, the gum syrup.
ねえっつってんだろ。なあ。
Ooh, that's some sass.
ユニバーシティ？ね、さっちゃん。そうやって何でも理解しようと努力するのはあんたのいいところでもあり、悪いところよ。
Especially when Yuji's so prone to just messing with people because he wants to see what he can get away with.
ユージも、さっちゃんは真面目なんだからさ、変な冗談で混乱させないの。私はシンクロニシティで。
Makina, no!
ほら見なさい。頭の悪い子が真似してるじゃないのよ。
True, my bad. But when you offer me anything, I think it's only natural I want to explore the limits. Okay then, I'll go with water. Make mine non-carbonated.
炭酸抜きですか？要は普通のミネラルウォーターでしょ？はい、それならわかります。マキちゃんは？じゃあ私は牛乳を。炭酸抜き。
Could you imagine carbonated milk? That sounds horrifying. Oh no, that can't be a real thing, right? Like no one's been insane enough to actually try that. Like it couldn't. I just don't think it could even work. Like it's too frothy. Like, ugh.
いや、最初から入ってねえし。つか、なんでちょっとかっこよく言おうとした？今。お兄ちゃんの真似。問題ない。
Oh, okay. So not only she got the crazy smirk going, but she's also in the spirit of mocking / emulating us with it. Great. Cool. It's nice to know what our face looks like as a relaxed state is mostly...
モノマネは微妙だし、言ってることがむちゃくちゃだし、どこから突っ込むべき？
No, you're not the only one. Why the glare in my direction? Oh, you can't just blame me. She's like a sponge. She just sucks in anything that's around her. If it were somebody else, she'd be like matching their mannerisms, right?
つまり普通の牛乳でいいのかな?
I'm surprised she's not asking for flavored milk, but then I don't really know if that's a thing in Japan. Like, I would assume so because it feels like it's so ubiquitous, but at the same time, there's just other stuff that like culturally just doesn't translate very much. Like bread products, like pretty much, it sounds like in Japan, bread is primarily fluffy and sugary, like almost like a dessert. Like you don't get a whole lot of like, I don't know, like I imagine finding a loaf of rye bread is pretty unheard of in Japan because it's like the opposite of what they typically are showcasing when they talk about breads. So I was also wondering too, like, what was I doing? Oh, I totally lost it. Never mind. Moving on. Oh, yeah, flavored milk. Duh. I was also, it's funny because like I did a rewatch. And I don't know why Milk lined me up with this, but I did a rewatch of Yuri, which is one of my favorite animes. One of the first ones I ever watched. Just super adorable, hilarious. And like, it's so dumb, but it's like, it's one of those shows that just makes me laugh like nonstop. But there's whole arcs in there, I think, about the blonde girl. She has a favorite soda, and it's clearly A&W root beer, like the root beer soda. And she drinks it and shares it with her friends, and her friends all act like it's the most horrific thing in the world. But growing up, that was my favorite drink, and so I was like, oh man, like she's my spirit animal in this. I loved it. It's great.
わかった。それじゃあ一番美味しいの買ってくるね。
But yeah, I was gonna say, strawberry milk, chocolate milk. I wonder if that's a thing in Japan. Man, I don't know where. It's like I tried to do two tangents at once there. It makes that was odd. With those words, Sachi picks up the hem of her skirt, bows to us, and quickly leaves the classroom.
まったくもう最近のマキナってば何でもユージの真似したがるのよね。まあこの子は昔から人の影響を受けやすいからね。ぶっちゃけ口が悪いのだってアマネからの伝染だし。
Really?
私別に口悪くないもん。ただ思ったことは口にする。不満を溜め込まないタイプってだけで。
So you're foul-brained then?
だからそれが悪影響を生んでいると言っているのではなくて、まあそれほど悪いことだとは思わないけれど。まあね、ここに来た当時のことを思えば確かに今の方がまだマシ。
Are we gonna get a little insight to what Makina was first like? Because it sounds like it. What? Was the girl even worse when she arrived here?
そんなことはないのよ。ただなんつうかその
must be bad if Makina is like herself is kind of like don't want to really talk about that.
昔はもっとおとなしかったっていうか、それこそ借りてきた猫みたいに誰にも懐かなかったし、誰とも喋らないでずっと一人でお人形遊びしてるような子だったのよ。
But we also remember we learned that she spent a lot of time in hospitals, traveling around. She never was in one place long enough to be able to make friends. And when your entire childhood is defined by like being surrounded by doctors and like sterilized rooms and never meeting other kids your age, like how are you supposed to learn how to socialize? It's not really that shocking that like when she was suddenly thrust into a school environment, even one like this, that she would not know what to do with that at first.
もう昔の話はもうええがな。
Ancient history, wasn't that like 6 months ago? Anyone has a thing or two in their past they don't want others to know about, and if you're attending a school like this, merely touching on the subject is probably enough to make some old wounds ache. There seems to be an established principle of mutual restraint when it comes to these sort of spots. Our conversation shifts fairly smoothly away from the details.
結局何が言いたいかっていうと、昔の触れたら壊れそうなマキナに比べれば、今の方がマシってことなのよ。
It's like updates in your like Windows, like whenever they change like forms, it's like it's the worst thing in the world when they go from like different like Windows 7 to Windows 8 to Windows 10 to now Windows 11. But then at the same time, it's also like kind of a relief in the end because you figure out like, okay, like while some of the changes are really stupid, there's some pretty good ones too.
自分じゃあんまり変わってないつもりなんだけどな。そう？最近はお豆腐も食べるようになったじゃない。豆腐？ほら、この子ってばひどい偏食家でしょ？
Oh yeah, I bet.
気に入ったものしか食べないっていうか、果物とパンしか食べないような子だったのに、最近は何でも食べるようになったじゃない？
That's good. That's actually solid. Like I can't imagine the struggle of like being super picky eater, let alone like trying to like live with one, because like there's one thing. It's one thing if it's like dietary restrictions, like oh like you have celiac disease and can't eat gluten, like that makes sense. Like you literally are in physical pain when you eat gluten, or if you have what is it, lactose intolerance, that just makes everybody miserable. It's like that stuff I get, but people who just struggle just to try foods even though there's no real like metabolic reason why they can't, it's got to be so frustrating. Even for that person, because it's like, what if they're forced out of their own comfort zone? They just have to like they just go hungry. I mean, that sounds like really miserable.
だってお兄ちゃんが
Having favorite foods is fine, but don't reject something you haven't tried. At least eat some before you decide to hate it.
って言うんだもの。
Experience is the most useful possible form for knowledge, a previous privilege reserved for those who manage to stay alive. Sometimes the most instructive and memorable lessons of all come from the deaths of your comrades. Fetch. But I wasn't trying to preach to Makina or make a complicated argument about her values. I just wanted to get across that ignorance isn't something you should cling to proudly. You're only embarrassing yourself when you insist that you hate some foods you've never eaten.
食わず嫌いがなくなるのは正直ありがたいけど、どうにもおかしなところまでユージに似ていくのはどうなんだろう。
Alright, so you feel like the territory is a little too expansive, huh? For example?
だから言葉遣いだってば。なんか最近のマキナ少し言葉遣いが横柄っていうかやけに尊大なのよね。
I don't know if that's
誰に似
us.
たのかしら。
I really don't know if that's based on us entirely. She was going smug on us like from day one. You're blaming me.
だって他にいないもの。
Hey, Makina. Seems like you've been coming off as a little arrogant lately. Better watch your step, got it?
心得た。いや、だからそれがダメだっつってんじゃん。は？なんだとこの野郎。なんで喧嘩腰よ。まあ、この子が他人の影響を受けやすいのは今に始まったことではないし、ポジティブな面を考慮すれば、何でもかんでも押さえつけるのは良くないと思うけど。たまにいいこと言うのよさ。やっぱ押し付けられる息苦しさを知ってる女は言うことが違うのよさ。誰がよしこよ。私はユミコ。勝手にユを省略した上に読み方を変えないで。
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, Yoshiko, where'd that come from? It's literally just her messing around.
そんなに怒ること？なんとかこう、いいところだけ真似させるってできないのかしらね。
You don't get to cherry pick how you influence people. The whole point of influence people is that it's something that happens passively. You don't really get to like cherry pick how you do stuff unless you're like literally trying to manipulate people. And then in that way, that seems almost more toxic. I think the problem's with the sample she's working off of, to be honest.
あんたがそれを言う？
No, I was included in that umbrella.
今の私がこうして元気でいるのもみんなのおかげなのよ。
Then it's all worth it.
あまねえからは無駄な明るさを学んで、ユミちゃんからは本を楽しむことを通じて学ぶってことを教わったし、
That's awesome.
サッチンからは努力とか簡単に諦めない心ってのを学んだし。
You know, when she puts it like that, that does actually sound pretty cool. Like, it comes with baggage, but it's fine.
今んとこ学ぶところのないのはチルチルぐらいなのよ。
Oh, what?
ちょっと、それどういうことかな？学びなさいよ、私からも。ツンデレとか。
That's not a skill.
何のために？っていうか、何のとこが？
Ooh.
素でポカーンとしながら私の生き様全否定するのやめてもらえる？大丈夫。ちゃんとチルチルからも学んでるのよ。反面教師として。何よそれ。やっぱあんた私のことバカにしてんでしょ。
Yeah.
でも好き。
I love you though.
はあ？チルチルのこと大好きだよ。だから大丈夫。
Yeah, how can you be mad at her?
そう。なんかよくわかんないけど。そうなの？
Aww.
どう？散々バカにしておいて最後に好きって言って全部チャラにすんの。
Oh my
これって
gosh.
ツンデレ？
Alright, Makina, you're adorable. You're kind of a monster.
あんたやっぱムカつく。でも好きなのは嘘じゃないのよ。チルチル一緒にいると面白いし、バカだけど。あー、そうですか。それよくざんした。どうもありがとね。
Is it
もう
sarcasm?
バカって言うな。バカって言う子がバカなんだからね。
No, no, no. It's perfectly legal and perfectly reasonable for someone to point out people being an idiot when they're, especially when it's harming them directly. I mean, it's nice if you're gentle about it, but frankly, it's kind of also nice when someone can just be blunt, to just be like, look, you're being stupid. Stop it. Especially when it's a friend. Like, you don't want just random strangers shouldn't walk up to each other and talk about how much of an idiot they are. That just invites chaos and pain. But a close friend, yeah, like you should be able to go up to your friends and be like, okay, you're being stupid. You need to, like, let's figure this out. Whoops, that break's already over.
あれ、さっちゃん遅いわね。何かトラブルでもあったのかしら。
That's a fair point. I had completely forgot about her.
電話してみればいいのではなくて。うん。もしもし、さっちゃん、今どこにいるの？
Oh no. Is she like trying to go get like fresh milk or something?
駅のホーム？何してんのそんなとこで。はあ？北海道？
Oh no.
なんで？ちょっといいから絞りたてとかそこまでしないでいいから。
I knew it. It's just she was going for the milk. What's this? What happened?
なんかさっちゃん、一番美味しい牛乳を手に入れるとか言って北海道まで行って自分で牛乳絞ってくるって。
I said that as a joke. I didn't really think it was gonna be that. That woman's devotion knows no limits.
とにかく今すぐ戻ってきて。は？飛行機のチケット？
Oh my
そんな
gosh.
の空席待ちとかしないでいいからね。
Oh my gosh.
北海道まで行かなくてもスーパーに行けば北海道って書いてある牛乳売ってるからそれ買って帰ってきてね。
Okay, I think I might have been right about this one. Yeah, Makina's personality getting warped might have been inevitable considering the references she's working with from here. Well, not to say that I'm any exception. Good, because you're not. That's been very clear. Oh, principal's office. We haven't been here in a while. I'd assumed the job of the principal mainly involved counting your school's money, then begging for more. Well, I'm sure that's part of it. That and signing off the paperwork you hadn't really read. Judging from the way Chizuru had the free time to call me in for a chat for no particular reason, even going so far as to make the tea personally, my guess may not have been that far off the mark. Well, Yuuji, you also got to consider here. Most principals are overseeing schools of like 3, 4, 8, 9, 1,000 students. She has 6. There can't be that much paperwork. It's 6 kids. But, well, even if that's the truth of the matter, pointing it out would no doubt hurt the woman's self-esteem. A good man knows when to keep things to himself, as my master put it. I don't think you learned that lesson very well.
それでどうかしら？もう学園には慣れた？
Not in the least.
何か不便でも？足りないものがあるのなら申請してくれれば。
That's not what I meant. I don't know. It sort of feels like I'm just playing a student for some undercover operation. I can't quite settle down.
そう？旗で見ている分には楽しそうにしているように見えるけど。
I would agree. It seems like he's having fun. Well, I won't deny that, but sometimes I'll catch a glimpse of myself smiling in a pane of glass and I just flinch. It's like I'm looking at someone else. Feels awkward. I just want to ask that guy, what's so funny, a-hole? Who do you think you are? Before I know it, the smile's fallen right off my face.
そういうもの？
All right, here's a simple analogy. You know when you're having sex in a hotel and you get a look at yourself going at it in the mirror and you're just like, what are you, a monkey? The whole thing seems ridiculous, right? Same deal. So that's normal. Like, it's not like normal, but like for something that's so like driven to have, sex is awkward. And it's like, it feels kind of unnatural sometimes. It's just like, why? It's like one of those things where it's like, it would literally like be the dumbest thing in the world if it wasn't so such a pleasurable experience and such a part of our natural like instincts. It's like, what do they call it? Post-nut clarity, like that kind of thing, where it's like, after all is said and done, and like the adrenaline and the other chemicals in your brain like calm down, like you can end up feeling like what was that? Like, it can be a little too revealing about yourself at times. But that's also what's nice about committed relationships, is because you get to learn the boundaries and you kind of like get into a comfortable position. But still, like, I don't think it's wrong to feel like that it's like that there's something a little strange about that, especially like the lengths people will go to get that fulfillment. It can be really shocking and kind of disconcerting, really.
余計にわかりにくいわよ。
No, it makes perfect sense. Maybe it's a guy thing. Really? Okay, then let's try this one. The guy I knew told me a story about the time his parents caught him effing a pillow in the middle of the night. That's pretty, In that moment, cursing his own idiocy, he longed for the release of death. I think the same shame might be somewhat similar. That's intense.
その枕をレイプしたお友達の話、まだ続くの?
That is a phrase you don't expect to see when you wake up. Wasn't grape. Gotta be careful, YouTube. Yeah, the pillow's consent. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad it gave consent.
そういうことを聞きたいんじゃなくてね。
I guess it was a turning point in his life, deciding that if he was going to kill himself anyway, he might as well die defending his country. How'd we get on this topic anyway?
話を元に戻しても?
Probably, yes. We're in dangerous waters right now. Feel free.
あなたの事情はそれなりに理解しているつもりだけれど、私からはそのうちになれるわよとしか言いようがないわね。今この学園にいるあの子たちだって、学園に来た当初は皆あなたと同じようなことを言っていたわ。
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. They all seem cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, just like me. So they've all got their own circumstances, huh? Figured as much.
あなたがそうであるように、この学園にいる子たちも様々な事情があってこの学園に来たのよ。そもそもこの学園が設立された理由もその辺の事情が少なからず関係しているわ。この学園に学生が6人しかいないのも、まずはテストケースとしての運用という側面があるからなの。
Oh, I see. We're the litmus test. Gotcha. I do think it's interesting, again, like when she talks about the special circumstances for the people who are coming to the school, and then you think about the fact that this school is surrounded by like 12-foot tall concrete walls. Yeah, like, I feel like this is a place that you not only go for people who probably need protection of some kind, but also maybe a place where they can be away from prying eyes. Like, imagine you were, 16, and you got caught up in some really scary, like, crime. Not a crime you did per se, but what if you became the target of, like, a serial killer and you barely escaped with your life? Or perhaps you have, like a stalker who's, like, really, like, gotten out of hand, but, like, they can't catch them. And so, like, this is a place you could send a student to try and give them, like, a peaceful school life, but protecting them all the same. Like a witness protection program, but for kids. But the nature of these circumstances isn't made clear to any of the other students, or so it would seem.
学生どころか、講師にすらその辺の詳細な事情は伝わっていません。
She's like, don't touch it. Don't stray too close to that.
うかつに手を出すこともできないようなデリケートな事情を抱えた子もいれば、ことが公になれば日常生活に大きな支障をきたす子もいます。
Yeah, I mean, it sounds
例えばあなたのようにね。
fair point. It sounds suspect, but at the same time, it's like, that's perfectly legitimate.
学園の方針としては学生の自助努力というか、問題を抱えた学生を集めることによって学生同士で心のケアを行い、自然治癒力を高めるというか。
That's interesting because at the same time, like, I can see why that would make logical sense, but then at the same time, I also would worry because if you take a bunch of ostracized people for whatever reason, like kids who are isolated for whatever reason, like circumstances, bullying, personality, like what have you, if you take all the outcasts and you put them together, there is a level of camaraderie they might be able to experience, but it also can really emphasize and kind of encourage the aspects of their life that brought them there. Like, it's nice that they can have a space where they can kind of feel like they're not alone in their struggles, but then at the same time, it kind of reinforces the idea that they're different, and that can be really damaging long term, I think. Because, like, we all think we're different, and we all have insecurities, but then, like, to reinforce it by literally having, like, a state-sponsored school for special people that you go to, is like, there's gonna be a little bit of, like, underlying, like, I wouldn't call it trauma, but like improper validation, where like it just confirms that things aren't normal for you, and that can be bad. I would guess the ideal situation would be to run the school like a normal school, but have it be the haven for kids who need special like attention and like discretion, so they could like mix in with the general student population. So make it like a really prestigious private school, make it really like give it some of the best professors and give it some really good like make it really appealing so it gets a lot of applicants, and then you can cherry pick the applicants and intermingle with them the students that need a little bit more like TLC, and there you go. That sounds like a recipe for success right there. In other words, you throw a bunch of losers together in the hope that they'll lick each other's wounds.
そういう言い方は語弊があります。あくまでも上からの押さえつけではなく、学生同士のつながりに重点を置いた教育を目指しているのであって。
Quick reading from the pamphlet. Sounds pretty when you put it that way, but basically you gather a bunch of rich kids who couldn't handle regular school, raked in a ton of donations from people with a guilty conscience about how their children turned out, then make up an excuse about healing in their own time when no one improved no matter how much money you threw at the problem.
まあ、なんて人聞きの悪い。
Oh, okay. Show me some evidence. Have any of the students here actually improved? I mean, we were just talking about Makina, but was that actual improvement, at least from the perspective of the school?
確かに榊さんやイリスさんの家からは少なからぬ助成を受けていますが、あくまでも規定の範囲です。
Okay. So we learned a little something there. Sakaki and Irusu, their families are rich, like rich. Irusu, who's Irusu? Like, is that the blonde girl? Like, I keep knowing that they're like we have the casual names that we're familiar with. So like they're like a lot of their like formal names I have not been sticking. I know Sakaki though.
今は学生の絶対数が不足しているがゆえに、確固の負担が大きく割高感が強いというだけで。
Okay. So I don't know if that second line just wasn't recorded, or if it was just like a really simple sentence. But like normally it breaks up the lines appearing in conjunction with the line delivery for this game, so I'm guessing that there's a mistake there. Ah, my bad. Let's stop talking about money. Whether I'm right or not, this is just going to lead to a lot of outraged self-defense, and wherever the money's coming from, it's covering my free tuition, so I hardly have the right to criticize.
どこまで話したかしら。
Why did you call me here in the first place?
別に何か特別な理由があって呼び出したわけじゃないわ。ただ単純にこの学園での生活に何か不都合があれば聞いておこうって。ただそれだけの話なの。
Sorry, interrupting. It's actually a pretty good idea. Formalizing meetings can sometimes put people on edge. So making an informal meeting and having a friendly chat, but really trying to, just see where a student is and what's going on, is probably a good way to get like a defenses down, honest answer. So I actually would say this is a really good idea. Like I said, there's no real problems. Just can't get used to this yet.
でも、お友達はできたでしょ？うまくやっていけそう？
I think so. I mean, I don't know if they're like close yet, but I definitely think that I would like describe it as friendship. With some more than others, as you know. I'm not the most sociable human being, and thanks to my master's influence, I've got a bit of a sarcastic streak. It does lead to some misunderstandings. I guess you could say I've run into some minor communication problems.
警備かしら。私にはかなり歪んでいるように見えるのだけれど。
I don't know, though. Is it more warped than everyone else's communication with us? What do you expect in a school founded to collect warped people and fix them? Or maybe sweep them under the rug? Whichever. Beating the flaws out of a warped sheet of iron, gathering the failed works and stuffing them into a dark closet, this place is more like a metal shop than a school.
どうしてあなたと話しているといつもこうなってしまうのかしら。
I don't know. Maybe because you have good reactions? Didn't I just tell you? I have some issues with communication. I guess you might have been hoping that a truly twisted individual like myself would offset the others' warping and get them back on track, but apparently it hasn't worked out too well.
あなたがどう思うと勝手だけれど、私はそういった目論みがあってあなたをこの学園に招き入れたわけではないわ。それだけは疑わないでほしいのだけれど。
Considering my guesses to his background being so military and so probably specialized, I don't doubt that. I feel like if she wanted to bring him here for his skills, we would have seen a manifestation of his skills needing to be applied by now. Gratitude toward the person who saved your life, is it?
そういうこと。
Oh, okay, so there is like a direct history between us. It was a coincidence that I was the one who saved you, and I was acting on orders.
でも、あなたでなければ、ああはうまくいかなかったと説明されたわよ。あなたがいなければ、私は今ここでこうしてのんきにお茶を飲んでいることもなかった。
Again, another hint that Yuuji not only was involved in some kind of military/mercenary group, but he was good, like highly specialized, and probably one of the best in his field. Explains a lot about him. But yeah, so it sounds like he's pretty talented when it comes to it. And I wonder, because we've seen like a little bit of that with his combat with the thugs in the alley. He just handled it like so perfectly. I'm curious to see what the extent of his abilities are. That's just something you're arbitrarily convinced yourself of. Not to repeat myself, but I didn't save you for any special reason.
勝手で結構。私はね、人に借りを作ったままというのが嫌いなの。それとも何か別のお礼が良かったかしら？
Oh gosh. No, you've done more than enough.
確かに、あなたの思っていた普通の学園とは少し違うかもしれないし、クラスメートに変わった子が多いのは認めるけれど。
I mean, it seems like a perfect fit, honestly.
それでも、私にはこれが精一杯なの。ごめんなさい。
Not a problem. Not that I buy every word coming out of the principal's mouth, but when you get down to it, a place like this is probably just about right for someone with circumstances like mine. Tossing the likes of me into a run-of-the-mill school wasn't a great idea to begin with. Pushing my way into a crowd of people with completely different values probably would have made for a tense and irritating experience. Alright then, are we done here?
そうね。何か不満があったらいつでも言って。すべてに対処するとは言えないけれど、善処はします。
Got it.
そうそう。ついでに聞いておきたいのだけれど。
What is it?
あなたから見た他の子たちって、どんな感じかしら？
That's a good question, actually. I wonder what he thinks. My thoughts.
別に難しい話ではなくて、なんていうのかしら。あなたから見たあの子たちの初見？
Yeah, Yuuji.
例えば、あなたから見た榊さんはどんな子に見えるのかしら？
You know what? It's funny because like it's been a while. I forget that she runs around with a box cutter and she actively pulls it out to threaten people. That's pretty crazy. Sakaki, huh? I haven't known her for that long, and honestly, I can't say that I have a particularly firm read on her. And to be perfectly frank, this is the woman who started slashing at me with a box cutter out of nowhere. Can't say that I'm eager to get deeply involved with her. Alright, these are just my impressions. If you put it nicely, she's a rational type that doesn't waste her time. Put it harshly, she's just apathetic. Unless it's blocking her way, the girl's not going to bother picking up something that falls down. That's how she comes off, at least. That applies to her relationships with the others as well. Sakaki seems to avoid getting involved with someone unless she absolutely has to. She'll respond when you talk to her, but rarely joins the conversation otherwise. Guess you could interpret her quietness as an attempt to avoid hostility or an attempt at intimacy from others, but I think it's partially that she simply doesn't understand how to build relationships of mutual trust. And if someone else tries to bridge that gap, she'll take it as an intrusion on her territory and violently reject them. Interesting. So, like, his analysis there, it kind of puts out something odd there. So he says that, like, it might just be, like, an unwillingness or inability to connect with people. But he also points out this idea that, like, it might be a trust foundational issue. So maybe in her past, she's had people that she's genuinely believed were on her side, that were, like, you know, had her back, absolutely betray her, like, to the utmost degree. Maybe, like, completely utilized her trust and used it as a weapon against her or, like, her family or, you know, like, loved ones in general. And when she was, like, so I could see her being a survivor of, like, utter betrayal. And thus she's decided, like, I'm never going to let anyone close again because it's not safe. Because anyone who gets close to me is just going to hurt me because that's all I've experienced in my whole life. You know, she's young, but if her life was all defined by that, then yeah, that would suck. I think those are the major points. I've been consciously trying not to be too pushy or intrusive with her, but, well, I haven't gotten that far.
なるほど。じゃあ、松島さんは?
Michiru, huh? The girl's nuts. The other day I saw her wandering the dorm hallways moaning with cling wrap rolled around her head. What kind of ritual is that supposed to be?
きっとブリーチをしていたんじゃないかしら。彼女、月に一度ぐらいのペースで髪を脱色しているみたいなのだけれど、その脱色に使う薬品が相当に痛いらしいのよね。
That can't be good long term. Like, that's gonna give you cancer or something. I see. At the time, I'd hidden myself instinctively and observed Michiru's freaky ceremony from afar, but it seems she wasn't wrapping foil on her head to protect from the occult mind control rays after all. I mean, you weren't actually seriously thinking that. I thought he was just being funny. Incidentally, it's the hair color that allowed by the school regulations.
まあ、対面的には若干の問題はあるけれど、うちは私学だし、彼女の髪が著しく風紀を乱しているというわけでもないしね。
I mean, I understand having dress codes and stuff, but is it actually so severe that Japanese schools, like, lose, like, prestige if a student is dyeing their hair? Like, does it reflect to the point where, like the student board would not receive proper funding if a student's, like, wandering around, like, choosing to be a nuisance or choosing to stick out? Like, I know that sticking out is a very taboo type of thing culturally, but, like, at the same time, it's like, would it be taken that far? Is that why schools are so strict and ridiculous at times in Japan? Is it because, like, it's literally, like, tied to their ability to actually gain funding and success? That's crazy. True enough. Seems like she has her reasons for going with the hair color too. Guess there's no need to force her to stop.
どういう意味?
About what?
松島さんの髪の色の理由、何か聞いたの?
No. Well, she said I'm a tsundere, so it has to be this way, but I don't know anything more than that.
何それ? Tsundere?
How do you not know about that? Okay, sum the girl up. She's just a generically incompetent human being. Although you might get distracted by the flashy blonde hair at first. It's not representative of who she really is. That coloration is actually a warning signal. By going out of her way to be highly visible, she's announcing to everyone who sees her that I'm poisonous, but in the end, it's nothing more than an empty threat. In other words, Michiru's so weak that she feels the need to project hollow menace and self-defense. The girl wouldn't last a minute on her own. She has to form symbiotic relationships to survive. I don't know. I think he's being really harsh here. Remember, we're talking about people who all have a lot of, like, trauma or, like, some kind of, like, even if it's not direct trauma, it's likely caused trauma because they're young. Like, something about their life is warped. So she dyes her hair blonde, and she actively tries to behave like a tsundere. So that tells me that she doesn't feel like she has an identity, or that her former identity was worthless somehow. She feels like, I would guess that she feels a sense of like disassociation, that she had no value, or like maybe she was told that time and time and again, or that she had some kind of reason to doubt like whether or not, it sounds a little harsh, but maybe like whether she was worth the trouble. Like, I don't know, what is it? Survival's guilt? Like, what, going through something and being like, maybe going through a tragedy and being the only one to survive, or like one of the few, and you feel like you knew so many other people who deserved it so to survive and to be okay so much more. It's like, at that point, that shift, that change could mean that you kind of feel like there's nothing about you that has value. Thus, you would assume what you perceive other people seeing value in. So if you watch a lot of anime, especially probably at the time when this came out, tsunderes were all the rage at that point, you know? Like they're like the Toradora taigas. So maybe she just adopted it because she just wanted to be accepted, and she felt like she had so little to offer on her own that she had to take up a personality that people found interesting, because otherwise she'd be so boring and unworthy, or like just lacking value, that like she just feels like she has nothing of substance to herself, and thus she puts up a facade, but oddly that facade has less substance than her actual self. But again, we're talking about a warped perspective, like that's not a normal thing, but that would be my guess. That would explain why she goes to the trouble of like standing out with her hair, and why she behaves like a tsundere, that she practices. Like, remember, she was doing like vocal practices in the mornings to kind of get ready for her role as a tsundere. Clearly not who she really is. But she's also counterproductively cautious around others, and has a hard time trusting their charity or affection. In that sense, Sachi is a unique presence in Michiru's life. If you ask me, Michiru could be trying to figure out just how selfish can I be before Sachi rejects me, by slowly pushing at the limits of her kindness. What? For the record, those are just my opinions based on what I've seen of Michiru, so it might be completely off base.
意外と深いところまで見ているものだから、ちょっと驚いただけ。
People do call me perceptive sometimes, but when you grow up nervously watching the expressions of other people's faces, you naturally pick up a habit of observing others. He'd be good at interrogations.
あなたは確かお姉さんがいたのよね。
As she speaks, Principal Tachibana takes a binder stuffed with documents from her desk, then begins flipping through the contents.
上に兄弟がいる子って、上の子を見ながら育つから、優れた観察眼が身につくっていうものね。
Well, that's not the only reason in my case.
それで他の子は？そう。例えば小峰さんとかはどう思う？
Sachi, yeah? On the surface, she's just insanely serious about everything. Kind of an awkward girl. I think she believes diligent obedience is her only redeeming feature. Guess you could classify her as a tortoise rather than a hare, but it seems more likely like she's decided that for herself. Like she's just given up on developing her talents any further. Interesting. Sachi's a real enigma to me. I feel like for some of the other, like a lot of the others, I've kind of got like at least impressions about what led them to where they are, and what might be their motivations for like the way they've been feeling and the feelings they project. Sachi is a complete unknown. I don't understand really where her situation comes from, like how to explain it, like what it is, or like what her motivations are. It all just seems very just odd. The fact that she just takes everything at face value, believing it 100%, takes everything to an extreme, like literal extreme, where you can't even use a turn of phrase without her doing something. Like if she was watching a cartoon and heard Bugs Bunny is getting lost at in Albuquerque, would she like go to Albuquerque to try and build road signs to tell you how to get to other places? Like that's the kind of person she is. It's almost like she's like a tabula rasa, a blank slate, and anything that she hears immediately is inscribed on her core. And that's just very odd. I don't know what would lead someone to be like that, because it almost is like she's kind of autonomous. Maybe she shuts down a lot of her own higher functions. Maybe, oh, okay. Here's one idea. This is really out of left field, but what if she was forced to make a horrifically bad decision? Like, what if she had a living example of the minecart dilemma? You know, minecart racing down the tracks, gonna hit 5 people and kill them. You could pull a lever and make the minecart swing, but hit the one person. So like, it's like the thing is like obviously it makes sense like mathematically to say save 5 people rather than by sacrificing one. But then the dilemma is that you have to physically pull the lever, and like it becomes your choice, and it's like it stops being like an accident and becomes like deliberate, essentially murder. Now, no one would blame you for it, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't feel that way. So what if she had her own trolley problem? But what if it was real life? What if she was forced to make a horrific decision that had horrendous consequences? Maybe she made the right call. Maybe she didn't. I don't think that would matter. If she literally was forced to make a choice and that choice had devastating consequences on the people around her in her life, like her parents, her family, her friends, that could make her maybe shut down her own decision-making center. Like maybe she would isolate that, and in order to protect herself from ever having to face a dilemma like that, she just takes up a facade where she just does whatever people say. Now, that's a real stretch because I don't feel like that's something that would be manifesting in the way Sachi is playing it, because more likely it would just be a post-traumatic stress syndrome where you would very easily be overwhelmed with stimuli, especially anything that could be associating you with the memories of that terrible event. But Sachi being so willing to just go with the flow for what anyone says and never questioning it at all, it almost feels like she's avoiding questioning things. And that's the only situation I can think of that would actually make logical sense there. Is like she was forced into some kind of terrible decision, and she was kind of broken by the fact that her choice led to such a terrible outcome. That could mean that she would want to run away from the ability to make choices anymore. Basically, she's the type who thinks about resolving a huge problem over the course of 10 years of hard work. She seems incapable of even considering a search for an easier method, let alone turning to others for help. If you told her to build a castle here, she'd start stacking up stones by herself. She's serious, honest, and follows an instruction she's given obediently, to the point where she often seems more like a robot than a human being. That girl's faithful to her orders, but she doesn't think about efficiency when carrying them out. It's almost like she's pushing herself. If someone doesn't teach the girl to let off some steam, she's gonna explode someday. I wonder, what would happen if she were pushed to that point? Like, what would Sachi become if she exploded? Like, it wouldn't be literal, obviously, but like, what if emotionally she exploded? What would happen? It'd probably be terrifying.
あの子、何を頼んでもいいですよ、わかりましたっていうもんだから、私もつい仕事頼んじゃったり、雑用任せちゃったりするし。
You do that too. Try not to fall into the mistake of thinking I've created an appropriate setting, so now I can just leave the students to take care of themselves.
痛いところをついてくるわね。
Nope.
私だって今のままでいいとは思っていないのよ。だからこうして定期的に個人面談という形であなたたちの意見を聞いているのだし。
Yeah, so like I said, this informal meeting isn't just for Yuuji, it's for everybody. But like by keeping it really down-toned and personal, like it lets people feel more comfortable. So you've had this sort of discussion with the others as well.
ねえ、そう。折を見ては面談をしたり、話すのが苦手な子には日誌を提出してもらったりしているの。
Diaries.
もう。日誌というか、あれは絵日記に近いかしらね。
Okay. Makina, is it?
ご明察。
Yeah.
あの子の言葉は少し理解するのが難しいし、話をしている最中に何を話そうとしていたのか忘れてしまうようなことが多いから、思い立ったことを紙に記録したものを提出してもらっているの。あの子、結構絵が上手だから面白いわよ。
I mean, it's not a bad way to do it, honestly. It makes a lot of sense. I see. Yeah, in Makina's case, I think a diary would probably be more coherent.
あなた、 イリスさんとずいぶん仲良くなったみたいね。とても珍しいことよ。
Amane told me the same thing.
イリスさんはね、そうは見えないかもしれないけれど、日常生活に支障が出るほどの人見知りなのに、あなた、どうやって彼女と仲良くなったの？
So she has severe social anxiety, like crippling social anxiety. Piece of cake. Just helped her get the hang of Oh my gosh, Yuuji. With a little hands-on instruction, now she comes to my room every night. Why? Yeah, I know. It's just a joke. Don't give me that look.
本当に冗談なんでしょうね。
Yes, please. If you ask me, Makina is kind of the exact opposite of Michiru. She plays up her weaknesses to take advantage of the protection of others, like her bizarre speech pattern and quirky habits. The aggressive way she cuddles up to people, all that. I think it's something she does by instinct to invite compassion from the strong. I mean, yeah, she grew up weak. It makes sense. It's a really powerful defense mechanism. It's interesting because remember, I had my little rant 2 episodes ago where I talked about how I didn't like how they had, it wasn't that they were sexualizing her. Like, it kind of comes with the territory of visual novel, and, you know, everyone's appropriate age for this kind of stuff, really. So, like, it's not that's the issue. And even having people who have smaller builds isn't a problem. For me, it was the fact that she is so childlike in not just looks, but in mannerisms, in dress, in just everything. All of it put together really paints, like, an odd picture of, like, trying to exploit a particular fetish that's very risky. Not just like in the like, oh, like you shouldn't talk about this kind of thing. It's more of like, no, like motivating people to do criminal things type of risky. I don't think that's the case, and I wouldn't say that if you like Makina that you're like some kind of budding criminal. I'm just saying that like it was pushing so far on that envelope that it was starting to make me feel uncomfortable, where most of the time I'm not bothered by that. But this time it was just because of like all these conditions put together. But then you gotta think about that. Like maybe the context of that makes it not as bad because it's more a defense mechanism by embellishing and focusing on her childlike appearance and kind of enhancing it with a childish type of mannerism, dialogue, all of that. Whether intentional or not, it really could just be simply a way for her to get, like, to be, like, dismissed as a non-threat, so she never is under, like, fire or scrutiny. To be, like, to be able to say things and not be taken seriously, it's pretty powerful. Because then it can let you slip in little things here or there that you want to say, or like opinions you want to express without people taking it too seriously. I mean, we saw that just before with Michiru, where she was essentially like boldly calling her out for like garbo and calling her an idiot in like some of the worst ways you can, but sugarcoating it with this childlike like dichotomy. And then you have Michiru not really knowing how to handle that, and thus keeping things kind of level. So Makina kind of was in control of the conversation the whole time. So there's a cleverness to there if that was intentional. That's the thing though, I can't tell if she's doing it intentionally or not. That's really what is troubling. If it is a defensive tool, that's pretty powerful. And the motivation for why she would behave this way is a combination, I think, of just her circumstances and her past. She has lived her whole life really heavily sheltered. She probably feels very anxious in general, especially with the fact that she clearly has like a severe social anxiety, but she doesn't have the strength or presence to kind of like keep people at bay like Sachi does. Like Sachi, you know, she has her cold like exterior and her blade. Makina is not going to really be able to pull that off very effectively. So instead she leans into her like innocent appearance, and and then she uses that as a weapon essentially. But we also know she has a mouth on her, and she also has very, like, I would argue that she's displayed a lot more perverted type of thoughts and leanings than anybody else, which is something, because Amane is, like, very, like, sexualized, but Makina feels like has the more dirty mind, because when Amane is kind of actually confronted about her, like, advances and her seeming promiscuity, she suddenly gets really shy and like standoffish, which I'm sure we'll talk about her in depth later. But like, Makina's interesting, but I don't feel like it's as confusing like where her motivations come from. I think it makes sense. It's mostly a defense mechanism. That sort of trick works on many men, but it's not going to make her popular with her own sex. Wouldn't be surprised if she's been bullied as a result. The reason Makina's taken to Amane so much is probably because of Amane's unusually strong protective instinct. But I think Amane's large body and the oddly masculine parts of her personality are also a factor. If you want Makina to like you, communicate that you don't intend her any harm, then demonstrate that you're strong. She'll saddle up to you herself.
なんだか随分と歪んでいるというか、打算的な関係なのね。
That's true. It feels like it would be really easy to manipulate her if that's the case. But he's probably not wrong. Don't know about that. The fact that I don't dislike Makina, and she herself understands perfectly well that I've seen through her. Fact is, Makina is much smarter than she lets on.
そんな関係でいいとあなたは思っているの？
I mean, no, as long as everyone involved knows where they stand and it's okay with it. That's not what I'm saying. For one thing, it's not like I can always be around to protect her. If you're completely convinced that someone's going to keep you safe at all times, you'll turn into the sort of person who can't do anything in a real emergency. Amane's enough if she wants someone to spoil and protect her. I'm trying to convey the value of independence and self-defense.
それはイリスさんのことを言っているのよね。それとも、この国の未来について？
Why not both? Because yes, whilst Japan was forced to being a subsidiary and protectorate state of America, it's pretty apparent that it's good that they learn how to defend themselves as well. And that they don't need, it's interesting because, I wonder if that will eventually change. If Japan will eventually become fully autonomous in a sense of a legal sense, could they have a standing army again? Could they have a proper standing navy again? It's getting to the point where I'm not sure if it would actually be problematic if they didn't. If they did, I don't know, it's weird because we just always existed in a world my whole lifetime and lifetimes before me where this has been the case. I wonder if that actually changed, what that would actually mean. An interesting interpretation.
冗談よ。それじゃあ最後に、スオさんについて。
Amane is an
あなたは
interesting
どう
one.
思う？
Amane, huh? To be honest, she's the biggest mystery to me. Her painfully cheerful personality and burning need to help others are one thing, but I have no idea why she clings to me so persistently. I think I already waxed pretty poetic last episode. I don't know if there's much else I can add to my theory crafting of that.
スオさん本人が言うには、一目惚れらしいじゃない？
Yeah, but that's kind of bullcrap. I mean, maybe some people genuinely believe in that. I don't think Amane does. I think most people don't. We like the idea, but I don't think we actually believe it's real. Because it's kind of silly if you think about it. That's what I don't understand. See me walk by and your first thought is going to be, that's a suspicious character. And she's saying she fell in love with me at first sight? She might be the most deranged of all of them. I don't have an answer, so let me ask you instead. What kind of woman is she?
どういうと言われても、見たままよ。明るくて元気で、一番年上だからしっかりしてるし。ちょっと待ってね。
So she is the oldest. The principal flips quickly through the document she's holding.
彼女、前にいた学校を1年間休学しているから、事実上はあなたの2個上ね。
Oh, interesting. So if Yuji's 16 and she's full on 18. Hey now, you shouldn't give away a woman's age like that. Pretty cruel.
いいじゃない。まだ若いんだし、気にすることないわよ。
In that case, how many years older than me are you, Chizuru? What's the matter? You have inexplicably broken into a sweat.
あの子がこの学園に来たのは、榊さんに続いて2番目よ。
Just ignoring the question, I see. I didn't ask you about that.
寮に彼女の引っ越しの荷物が届いた次の日、なんていうの？ほら、アメリカの暴走族が乗っているようなオートバイに乗って本人が学園に来たのよ。
Wait, she had a Davidson style motorcycle? What?
もうね、とんでもない子が来ちゃったってびっくりしたんだけど、まあ、話してみれば普通の子だったわね。とってもいい子よ。
She is just the biggest enigma. I don't know what to think of her. All right, I get the picture. Guess I'll give up on the age thing.
とにかく、みんないい子たちばかりだから、これからも仲良くしてあげて。
Can't make any guarantees, but I'll put in the effort. Are we done here?
ええ。もう退出してもらって結構よ。何か相談があれば、いつでも来て。
I probably will. All right then, I'll be going. Can't quite get used to my life at this school. I was being perfectly honest when I told Chuzuru about that my own smile feels awkward to me. A normal student life for a normal school. It's hard for me to believe how readily I'm accepting these small fragments of happiness, or maybe it's hard for me to forgive. I don't think I'm really feeling awkward when I see that smile. I'm feeling guilt. Yeah, so he's done stuff that he's literally like, I don't know if I deserve to be happy. And that's really sad because that's a far more common thought and far more common problem than most people realize. A lot of people struggle with feeling like they can just be happy, and I get it. I struggle with it too. Like, especially lately with my health issues kind of creeping in and the subsequent failing of like activities like my schooling and my work. It's been really hard not to take it personally and to internalize it. And it's taken a lot of, and I still do. I just thankfully have people in my corner who are helping me like understand that like I'm being really harsh on myself and that, you know, I'm still doing what I can and that matters. And I can't hold myself to the standard I used to because medically things happened. And like sometimes you can't just, you know, strap on your boots and muscle through. Like that's not always an option. For most people it is an option, but sometimes it's not. And you have to understand that that's the case. Feels like foul gas gathering in my body. Like my blood's turning black and viscous in my veins. A stifling sensation as if my lungs are slowly filling with cold poison. Look, do you really think this is what I should be doing right now? Vague, impatient questions dominate my mind. I feel a pressing need to do something, anything, but no concrete course of action to present itself. The principal tells me that I'll get used to this soon, but what good would that do even if I could? No matter how I change, none of these things that I've lost are ever coming back. Interesting. The Yuuji even got a lot going on. All right, we're going to end here. A lot of introspection. I'm almost wondering if we're getting close to the point where we're going to start making choices, because it felt like that was a writing choice to kind of bring it all together and be like, what do you think of all the characters so far? And kind of gives the reader a chance to reflect, just like I did with you. So maybe now is where we're going to start seeing divergence, because it's like, all right, you've been able to get to know the characters well enough now. So we'll summarize kind of who they are, and now that's when the choices start. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to start seeing choices here in the near future, because so far it's been literally none, but it's, you know, this has all been establishment. So I'd be curious to see how this all plays out. And I still got to wonder, like, there's still questions, not just about all the girls, obviously, but like, who hired the thugs? Who put a hit out on the dark web for us? You know, like I expected it to be Sakaki or maybe Sachi, because Sachi takes things so literally. If someone like mentioned like under their breath, like, he's so frustrating, I wish someone would just beat him up and just put him in his place. I could see Sachi hiring thugs to do that. It's because she was gonna fly to freaking Hokkaido to get milk. I could see her going as far as necessary. And then, but I think one of the most surprising ones that could actually would be like Makina, because remember how she's concerned maybe about like safety and keeping herself like defended? What if it was some kind of test? I don't know. It's really interesting. I'm really curious to see how that's all going to play out. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have a good week and that you enjoyed this episode. And this was a very rambly one as well, but it was really good because it's like, we really got to kind of do a deep examination of my thoughts about each of the characters, because last week was so Amane focused. It's nice that we actually got to break out the other ones and just kind of give you what I thought of each of them. So I hope that's a lot of interesting conversation for you. And yeah, we'll see what happens next week, you know, when the time comes. So thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. And especially thank you to the patrons and supporters of the channel. Like, it means the world to me. And, you know, the viewers and the likes and subscriptions and everything, it all makes a big difference. So I appreciate each one of you who have taken the time to do those things. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. you're here, and that's the most important thing. So thank you so much. And until next video, watching me, I've seen me next. I'll see you there.